This video is brought to you by Squarespace. Last year, I made a guide on how to get started shooting 16mm film. This video covered pretty much everything you need to know on starting out in the world of 16mm, like which camera I recommend buying, how to load the camera, film stock options, where to get the film developed and scanned, cost breakdown, and more. If you haven't already watched that video, I'd recommend doing so, as this video will act as an extension of my initial guide. Also, all of the relevant links to the information I talk about in this video will be in the description below. In this video, I want to talk about some new Krasonogorsk-3 camera iterations, show some footage that I've shot on these cameras, provide an update on lab options, answer some general questions that people have asked me about 16mm, and touch on a couple things I didn't cover in my first video. Stick around because we're also doing a Krasonogorsk-3 giveaway, so you'll have an opportunity to win a 16mm camera. I'll cover those details in a little bit. This video is also broken up into chapters so you can easily find the information you're looking for. I've been shooting 16mm relatively frequently for the past year now and can safely say it's one of my favorite formats to shoot. I had been shooting Super 8 for a couple of years before I decided I wanted to give 16mm a try, and one of the questions I get asked a lot is if investing in a 16mm system is worth it when getting a Super 8 camera is generally cheaper and will result in cheaper film stock, developing, and scanning costs. I would 100% recommend starting out with a Super 8 camera and giving that a try. Just see if you like the process of shooting motion picture film, see how often you're reaching for the camera, and if you enjoy the results. If you get absolutely hooked on it like I did and want to dive a little deeper, then it may be worth getting a 16mm setup. Super 8 definitely benefits from a small, lightweight form factor and a very simple shooting experience, while 16mm is bigger, bulkier, more expensive, and not as simple to shoot. However, getting those 16mm scans back for the first time and seeing the detail, the grain, and color of the larger format made it all worth it for me. I still shoot both pretty regularly, it just depends on the project. Whether you're looking to get your first 16mm camera or add another one to the arsenal, the Krasonogorsk-3 is a great option for numerous reasons. The quality is generally great, and the price won't break the bank compared to other cameras like the Bolex H16 Reflex. Again, refer to my initial 16mm video to learn more about the original Krasonogorsk-3 with the M42 mount and Meteor 17-69 f1.9 lens. Today I want to talk about two new versions of the K3 that the go-to K3 camera technician, Max, aka K3 Super 16 on Instagram, has created. These are standard K3 bodies but with a Canon EF or PL mount. So if you already have a collection of EF or PL lenses, one of these cameras might be a great option for you. Or if you want to get some modern, high quality glass to maximize the detail that's available in the 16mm film stock, many EF or PL lenses will allow you to do that. I have a Samyang 10mm on the Canon EF K3 and a Meike 35mm full frame on the PL K3. The Meike lenses are the cheapest PL lenses that I've seen that are of decent quality. I'm also really impressed with the quality of the Samyang 10mm lens. Now there are a couple things to consider if you're thinking about going the Canon EF or PL lens mount route. The first thing being that you'll need a lens with an actual aperture ring. I could throw my Sigma 18-35 lens on my EF K3, but I'd have no way to adjust the aperture since there's no aperture ring on the lens, and obviously no electronic controls on the K3 to adjust the aperture with. There are affordable EF lenses that have aperture rings. Rokinon and Samyang make some. The other thing to consider about 16mm is that the crop factor is about 2.8x when compared to 35mm full frame cameras. This means that my 35mm lens on my PL K3 is roughly equivalent to a 98mm lens on full frame, and the 10mm lens on my Canon EF K3 is roughly equivalent to a 28mm lens on full frame. I would personally recommend a lens in the 10 to 25mm focal length range, as this will be the most versatile. Now these EF and PL K3s are available in either the normal 16mm aspect ratio, Super 16, or Ultra 16. Again, if you'd like to learn more about the different aspect ratios available when purchasing a 16mm K3, refer to my previous guide. When purchasing from Max, no matter which iteration of the K3 you get, the lens will be centered in the middle of the frame and the viewfinder will be extended to reflect the modification. Max does recenter the lens on the Super 16 version of this camera, so you will get accurate compositions. I think the real draw of shooting these modified K3 cameras is you have the opportunity to put some really nice high quality glass on a 16mm camera and introduce a wide new variety of focal lengths to the system, since the M42 mount is limited in lens selection. This is footage of the Canon EF K3 with a Samyang 10mm lens and Kodak Eastman XX film stock. The image is wonderfully sharp, yet still possesses all the beautiful characteristics of 16mm. This was my first time shooting 16mm black and white film, and I'm thrilled with the results. The latitude of this film stock cannot be overstated. The texture of the grain is also much richer than that of color film, in my opinion. This footage is from the PLK3 with the Meike 35mm and some old Kodak Vision 200T from 2002 that was kindly provided to me by a watcher of the channel, so thank you MPH Pics. Since this film is 2 decades old, I rated it at 25 ISO. 2 stops over for the 2 decades that it's been expired and an extra stop for safe measure. And I actually think it was a bit overexposed. I actually can't quite tell if it's overexposed or if the somewhat washed out look is just from the film being 2 decades old. Either way, with some color correction, I got it looking pretty good. There's some slight color shifts going on, but overall, I'm pleased with the results. You can see that this is double perf film, with perforations on both sides. We're not able to crop into a Super 16 aspect ratio because of this, and with the K3, you should always be purchasing single perf film stock. But you can run double perf through it if you come across an old roll like this Vision 200T that has the extra perforations. The Meike lens looks really good, and I'm keen to put some fresh 50D through the PLK3 to really see how sharp the image can get. Hey everyone, pardon the interruption, just want to take a moment to thank the sponsor of today's video, which is Squarespace. I've been using Squarespace for about 5 years now. I've built 3 websites using their platform, just utilizing the custom templates that they have available on the website. I've purchased all of my domains through Squarespace, and overall the experience has been a breeze. They are fantastic to work with. They have 24/7 customer support if you run into any issues or need guidance with anything. They also have great features built right into the site, like SEO strategies, marketing tools, and e-commerce management. So whether you're looking to start a photography portfolio, a website for your next business, or just a simple blog, Squarespace is going to be the place to go. If you're looking to help support the channel and you want to get 10% off your next purchase of a website or domain, you can check the link in the description or use code Brae at checkout to do so. Now let me put out a quick disclaimer about these K3 cameras. Like most film cameras, they're very old and they were intended to be a consumer camera. You're not getting an Arri SR3 competitor when you purchase one of these things. They are driven by a spring-wound motor and house many moving parts. There are things that can go wrong with them over time. For example, the spring can lose tension, which will then cause inaccuracies in the shooting speed. Now, Max does the best job he can to make sure everything is fully functional when he sends the camera out, but there is always a chance that at some point down the road, something might happen or something might break. This is why I recommend buying from Max, because all of his cameras come with a warranty, so if anything does break or the camera stops working, he will fix it or replace it for free. So in my opinion, if you're gonna buy a K3, I'd get one from Max, or just make sure that you're getting one from a reputable dealer that can back up their product with a warranty. If you'd like to see just how crazy the engineering is on these 16mm cameras, I'd recommend checking out this video by the Slow-Mo guys, which I'll link in the description below, but it will blow your mind. Another update I need to talk about is the whole situation going on in Russia and Ukraine right now. Max has informed me that this has had a big impact on how he prices his cameras because their currency is somewhat in shambles at the moment. So he used to have a concrete pricing guide, but now he recommends just shooting him a DM on Instagram and he'll provide a custom quote to you depending on which camera you're looking at buying, and he is accepting payment via PayPal right now. I can tell you that the prices will be around $1,200 US for a K3 Super 16 or Ultra 16 with the original M42 mount with the Meteor 17-69 lens included, and $1,400 for the Canon EF or PL lens mount versions with no lenses included. And all of these cameras will come with a full set of accessories and a custom carrying hard case. All right, next I want to answer some questions that I got in the comment section of my previous video and some questions I've received through email and DM since that last video came out. Again, this video is broken up into chapters. There's timestamps in the description so you can easily find the information that you're looking for. First, people are asking where you can even find 16mm film right now. There has been a significant film shortage over the past few months, and unfortunately one of those formats that's been affected is 16mm. I've found the best method for purchasing 16mm film right now to be through Pro 8mm. They don't sell the film stock by itself. Instead, you have to purchase it in a bundle with either developing and scanning included. While I like doing the full film stock, developing, and scanning package through Pro 8mm for my Super 8 films, I don't like doing that for my 16mm films because I've found better and cheaper alternatives. But as of right now, I am buying the film stock and development package through Pro 8mm just so I can actually attain 16mm film. The cost for the film stock and developing through Pro 8mm is $95, which is actually ever so slightly cheaper than buying the film stock on B&H and getting processing done separately by Video and Film Solutions, which is the lab I've been going to for the past year. Speaking of Video and Film Solutions, if you watched my previous 16mm video, you know that my go-to combo for developing and scanning 16mm film was Video and Film Solutions for development and Nicholas Coyle for scanning. This was an extremely cost-effective method. However, since that last video came out, Video and Film Solutions has unfortunately raised their prices quite a bit. It is now 31 cents per foot, or $31 for a 100-foot spool for developing with leader and clean at Video and Film Solutions. Kodak Atlanta will process for 24 cents per foot, but they require a $50 minimum order, so that's not great for people only shooting 1 to 2 rolls at a time. Apparently, there is another company called Color Lab that is charging 22 cents per foot, but that does not include leader and clean. Unfortunately, I haven't found another lab that is as cheap as Video and Film Solutions was originally. They were doing processing with leader and clean for 18 cents per foot, and like I said, nobody else is that cheap from what I've seen. So right now I'm buying the film stock and processing package through Pro 8mm and then having them send my film to Nicholas Coyle for scanning. Nick actually lowered his scanning prices to 20 cents per foot for the 2 to 3.5K scans and 25 cents per foot for the 4 to 6.5K scans. If you want to learn more about Nicholas Coyle's scanning work, please check out the scanning section of my previous video. People often ask how much footage you'll get per 100-foot roll of 16mm film, and this all depends on the frame rate that you shoot at. At 24 frames per second, you'll get about 2 minutes and 45 seconds of footage. But if you shoot at 48 frames per second because you want to get some cool slow-mo, then that time will obviously be cut in half. Another question I get is if you can record audio while you're shooting on the K3. And the answer is no. The K3 is far too loud to record any audio while the camera is running unless your subject is way far away. And the other thing about the K3 that I mentioned previously is that it has a spring-wound motor, not a crystal sync motor. So the frame rate can actually slightly vary as the motor winds through its cycle, and it can vary over time as well. So you'll get some audio drift if you try to sync up the audio in post. Once you get your scans back, how do you go about color correcting the footage? I actually made an entirely separate video just on my color correction process, so if you'd like to check that out, I'll link it up here and in the description. There were some questions about scenarios in which one would elect to shoot 16mm instead of digital. Unless you have a legit 16mm setup, a camera with a crystal sync motor, a big budget for the film stock, developing, scanning, and audio crew, I'd say shooting digitally makes a lot more sense than shooting 16 for any major production. Shooting 16mm might make sense for some smaller budget music videos, fun home videos, travel videos, weddings, or on special occasions, but otherwise shooting digitally will be easier, simpler, cheaper, provide various audio options, be more ergonomically friendly, and it'll prevent mistakes during production. When you choose to shoot 16mm, how do you justify it? This kind of goes along with that last question, and although logically, a lot of the times it doesn't make any sense to shoot 16mm film, it is an experience that every filmmaker or film enthusiast should partake in at some point in their lives, in my opinion. You get massive files with a ton of data that yield exceptional colors and an extremely unique 3-minute video to capture a special experience. It teaches you a lot more about the roots of filmmaking and gives you a deeper appreciation for motion pictures in general. It also just gets me excited to shoot because it's a format that I don't get to use all the time, so it provides some variety in the creative process. What is your favorite 16mm film stock? I don't really have a favorite 16mm film stock, and that's because when you shoot motion picture film, it's very much about picking the right stock for the right job. I'm not going to shoot 50D in a low light situation, and I'm not usually going to shoot 500T in the middle of a bright sunny day. It's very situational, and you have to pick the right film stock based on the lighting scenario that you're in. I talk about this more in my previous video, so check that out if you're interested in learning a little bit more. That being said, if I had to pick my absolute favorite, I guess I'd probably say 250D because I tend to lean towards the daylight balanced films, and I like the additional grain in that faster speed stock. However, I haven't tried 100D yet. I haven't tried Ektachrome, so maybe I should re-answer this question once I've done that. What do you use to meter when shooting 16mm film? I just use the My Light Meter Pro app on my phone. This has always yielded great results. I rate the film stock at 1, maybe 2 stops over, and meter for the shadows or midtones. The latitude of Kodak Vision 3 is absolutely insane. So just using that app on my phone is all I've ever needed to do. Here's an interesting question I got. Can you use the K3 to shoot still images, and could you get prints made from these 16mm frames? The K3 will shoot single frame exposures, and this is because back in the day, people needed a way to do stop motion. However, you have no control over the shutter speed, so it will always fire at 1/30th of a second. So it's not very effective in that regard, but on a 100-foot spool of 16mm film shooting single frame exposures, you get about 4,000 frames. So it's kind of cost effective, but probably not the most realistic. And yeah, you can make prints from a 16mm frame grab. I've done it before, and the results were actually pretty good. The scans I get from Nicholas Coyle are really, really high quality. So I bring it in, color correct it, and I've done a pretty solid quality print from that scan. I think it was an 8x12. I don't have a sample with me, but trust me, it turned out pretty good. Should you load the film in subdued light? I always think it's a good idea to load in subdued lighting if you can. I've been in plenty of situations where I can't load in subdued lighting because I'm on a hike in the middle of the day or something like that. These 100-foot daylight spools do a pretty good job of keeping the light out. Sometimes they will come out of the package a little bit loosely wound though, and then harsh light strikes them and you get light leaks on the whole roll, just on the edges of the frames. So if you can load in subdued lighting, definitely do it. If you have to load in bright light, it's not the end of the world. Usually you'll be fine. Does the K3 take 400-foot spools, or is there a way to attach a 400-foot mag to the K3? No. Lastly, how does the K3 compare with the Bolex Rex series? Unfortunately, I haven't had the opportunity to test a Bolex camera yet. I plan to get one in the next couple of months, shoot with it for a while, and then make a video comparing the K3 to a Bolex. From what I've seen, it seems like the general consensus is that the Bolex is a slightly better built machine. I'm sure that's up for debate. I don't know if they're necessarily worth the price they're going for on eBay right now, but there is a much wider lens selection available for that C-mount lens from a variety of manufacturers in a wide array of focal lengths. And there's some really cool old vintage glass you can get for the Bolex, which definitely intrigues me quite a bit. And then, for example, on the Rex 5, you can attach a 400-foot mag to it and do things like that you just can't do on the K3. So it's definitely a system I want to test out in the future, but right now I really can't give my 2 cents on the comparison between the two because I haven't tried the Bolex yet. All right, now let's get to the fun part. Camera giveaway time. Max and I have teamed up to give away an Ultra 16 Krasonogorsk-3 M42 mount with the Meteor 17-69 f1.9 lens. Full kit, carrying case, filters, accessories, everything you need camera-wise to get started in the world of 16mm film. All you have to do to enter is go to my Instagram right now where there is a post live. Leave a like, leave a comment tagging one person, and go follow Max at K3 Super 16 on Instagram. You don't have to follow me or anything. I'm just trying to show Max as much love and support as possible. He's made 16mm accessible to so many people, and he's been a huge advocate for the community. Okay, he's not just a camera technician, he's an educator and an ambassador for an incredible format, a format that I've had the pleasure of shooting for the past year and have really come to enjoy. Okay, so go show him some love, enter this giveaway for a chance to win an incredible camera shipped anywhere in the world. You can be anybody from anywhere to enter. Everything is covered. You got a full kit. Krasonogorsk-3 Ultra 16. All right, head over to my Instagram. Links will be in the description. Go check that out. All right, everyone, that is going to wrap up the video. I hope this video, along with my previous 16mm video, has answered any questions you may have about 16mm or the Krasonogorsk-3 system. But if these videos haven't answered your question, feel free to leave me a comment on this video or shoot me a DM on Instagram, and I'll do my best to get back to you and answer those questions. I know Max, you can also DM Max on Instagram as well if you have any questions about the K3 specifically or about 16mm. He's happy to help. Other than that, best of luck in the giveaway, and thank you so much for watching. I hope this helped some people feel a little bit more comfortable about taking the plunge into the world of 16mm. If you're questioning whether or not you should do it, just do it. It's a blast. All right. Thanks again for watching. I hope y'all are having fun, staying healthy out there, and I will catch you next week. Peace.